Radhe Radhe. In today's lecture, I am going to be answering an eternal riddle, most commonly experienced by many spiritual seekers. What is that riddle, and what is the answer to that riddle? Let me begin. So many of you will know that our scriptures emphatically declare that God is all-pervading. In fact, all the great religions of the world unanimously share this teaching in common. Allah, Khuda, Tao, Sat Shri Akal, Bhagwan, and God, whatever name appeals to you. God permeates each and every particle of this universe in the same way as oil pervades a sesame seed. Prabhu Vyapak Sarvatra Samana. Ramayana. Our scriptures overflow with descriptions of the Supreme Lord as being the embodiment or personification of bliss. It is not that bliss resides within God. In fact, He is bliss and bliss alone in all directions, as it is described in the Upanishads. The Taittiriya Upanishads tells us, Anando Brahmeti Vyajanat Anandad Dhyeva Kalvimani Bhutani Jayante. Again, the Taittiriya Upanishad declares, Raso vai saha rasagvam hyevayam labdhva nandi bhavati. The Chandogya Upanishad, on the other hand, describes Anand eva dhastad, Anand uparishtat, Anandah purastad, Anandah paschat, Ananda uttaratah, Anando dakshinatah, Anand eve dagvam sarvam. So God is the embodiment and the personification of bliss and bliss alone. Now, some of you may raise an objection at this point. When every individual soul is an eternal fraction / part of God, as described in the Gita, Mamaivansho jiva loke jiva bhutah sanatanah, and therefore it is only natural for us to seek bliss. And He is bliss and omnipresent in this world. Then we all should be able to experience that bliss. It makes sense to think so, doesn't it? For example, if someone were to put salt into water, it will taste salty for anyone who decides to drink it. Similarly, if we mix sugar into water, the sweetness will disperse equally throughout. So why can we not taste or experience the sweetness of God in the world? Now, this is a riddle, or the riddle, that most spiritual seekers stumble upon. What is the answer to this common conundrum? My Gurudev Jagadguru Tam Shri Kripaluji Maharaj gave this very simple and unique analogy to reveal the answer. After circumambulating a hill of sugar all day, an ant was questioned by another regarding its experience. Sugar? Questioned the ant. That wasn't sugar. You are mistaken, my friend. That was salt. In ensuing debate that followed, it was uncovered that the ant had a grain of salt lodged in its mouth. In the same way, being under the influence of God's delusive power called Maya, our senses, mind, and intellect, which we rely on to experience and perceive this world, are material and therefore defective. God, on the other hand, is perfect, transcendental, and divine. He is the controller of Maya and completely beyond its jurisdiction. Unless our senses become divine, their experience and our perception of it will never be accurate. God is all-pervading, but we cannot perceive it. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Chandogya Upanishad describes, and so does the Ramayana. Prabhu Vyapak Sarvatra Samana. Saints like Tulsidas Ji, Surdas, etc. were graced with a divine vision upon God realization and experienced the blissful form of God everywhere in this world. It is therefore necessary for us to imbibe their example and follow in their footsteps, so we too can taste the ever-increasing sweetness and blissfulness of God's unlimited divine love for eternity. So, to conclude, we as individuals are under the influence of Maya, and therefore we possess material senses, mind, and intellect. So, we need to practice spirituality, we need to practice bhakti, devotion, and purify our mind, our senses, and our intellect. And with the grace of our Guru, we will be able to experience the sweetness, we will be able to relish the divine bliss of God's love. And then we would be able to claim the omnipresence of God, that God is all-pervading and He is sweetness through and through. Shrimat Sadguru Sarkar ki jai, Shrimat Yugal Sarkar ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.